How's it going, everyone? Chris here, back again with my Battlefield 3 weapon guide video series. Today we're going to take a look at the one of the most requested weapons. I've had comments on all my video series so far having people request this weapon, so we're going to finally get round to the F2000, which is another assault rifle in the assault kit. You unlock the F2000 in-game after racking up an assault score of 124,000, and despite looking like some kind of alien concept weapon, the F2000 is actually used in real life, although not by the Russian or US forces, so it's a bit strange that you can have the weapon in-game in that it's not used in real life by any of these military factions. But as you can see, it's got a pretty chunky design, bullpup design, so the magazine is behind the main grip and trigger setup. It looks pretty strange with those curved lines. You can just imagine it with some kind of like neon lights surrounding it. So let's get started with this guide. So first up, let's take a look at the general stats of the F2000 in Battlefield 3. So power-wise, it has the same high damage figures as all the assault rifles, enabling you to get 4 to 6 shots to kill. Despite going through some recent nerfs in a patch, the recoil is still pretty low. The recoil before the patch was even lower, but still with the after the patch and the changes to the recoil patterns, you can easily blaze full auto with this weapon without having to burst fire and without ending up shooting way above the target's head. Like most of the weapons, you do get the choice of semi-automatic and fully automatic modes, but you really don't need that semi-automatic mode. You can basically snipe people from across the map in full auto without even the need for the foregrip. Capacity wise, it's 31 rounds, pretty much the same as most of the assault rifles. That's 30 rounds in the magazine, leaving 1 in the chamber. And the rate of fire is pretty fast, but not the fastest. We've got the AK-971 and the FAMAS with slightly higher fire rates, but 850 is up there amongst the top. And combined with that high recoil makes this weapon very powerful indeed. It's that combination of a high fire rate and low recoil which really makes this weapon really useful across all situations. Previously, the FAMAS was my favourite out of the assault rifles, but the F2000 I think might be a contender for first place slot. I think the FAMAS does have the upper hand in close quarters combat with it having that very fast rate of fire. The FAMAS does have slightly more recoil, although the recoil on the FAMAS is still pretty low overall. But the main advantage of the F2000 is that the slower rate of fire means that you're less likely to need to replace your magazine after a quick firefight. That's the main problem I have with the FAMAS, is that it has quite a long reload time. So after you've taken out 1 or 2 bad guys, you sat there quite vulnerable while you're replacing the magazine, whereas with the F2000 you can kind of spare your ammunition a little bit more with the slower rate of fire, so you can make every shot count. Another advantage of the F2000 is its iron sights. They're really clean in comparison to the FAMAS. And we'll talk about optics in just a second, but I'd really just stick with the iron sights throughout the early levels of this weapon and just forget all about the ACOG until you get to the reflex and holographic sights. So talking about optics, let's move on and take a look at my recommendations of a configuration of your F2000 in Battlefield 3. So optics first, like I mentioned, the iron sights are really clean, and I would just advise just sticking with the iron sights throughout the first levels until you unlock the shorter zoom optics like the reflex red dot sight and the holographic sight. With the assault rifles, you unlock the ACOG first of all, and I'm sure you'll know by now if you've been watching my guides, I'm personally not a fan of the ACOG or higher zoom scopes. Saying that, the F2000 with its relatively low recoil probably would be a weapon that suits those higher zoom scopes more than some of the other weapons. So if you're a fan of, say, the infrared or the ACOGs, then the F2000 might be a good weapon to use them on. My preference, however, goes with the simple red dot sight, reflex red dot sight, which you get after acquiring 50 kills. It's a non-magnifying gun sight with just a little red dot reticle, and it just replaces those iron sights, giving you a little bit more peripheral vision. Now, in real life, you probably wouldn't be able to attach a foregrip or a bipod with there being no tactical rail, but as you can see by the little picture, the F2000 in Battlefield 3 has a randomly placed RAS rail on the front grip area, which looks pretty strange, but in game it does allow us to equip either the foregrip or the bipod. I find myself on the move a lot more than I am stationary, so my preference goes with the foregrip to decrease the recoil a little bit more, making it pretty much a laser beam. And for the secondary attachment, we've got a couple of good options. You could go with the heavy barrel, which you get after just 20 kills. This will make the weapon a lot better at longer ranges, giving you more accurate fire, but you do sacrifice that higher damage at long range with slightly more recoil. But being a weapon that's relatively low recoil anyway, it's a sacrifice that can be made quite easily. Otherwise, you can go with the suppressors to help you stay off the radar to create more of a stealthy class setup. Unlike the heavy barrel, the suppressor does limit your range in that the suppressor will reduce your overall muzzle velocity, making those bullets weaker at long range. But you do get the advantage of a slightly reduced recoil by 10% with the weight of the suppressor on the end of the barrel. Otherwise, you can keep on using the weapon until you get 90 kills and then equip the laser sight, which will help increase your hipfire accuracy. But out of the three, my preference probably goes with the suppressor. This overall setup with the reflex, the foregrip and the suppressor is pretty much my go-to setup, and it's one I've recommended in most of these assault rifle guides. So just to summarise, suppressor you get it after acquiring 70 kills with the F2000, and it reduces the muzzle flash of the weapon and it keeps you off the radar when opening fire. So that's it for my guide to the F2000. I hope it was worth the wait. I know there's been plenty of people looking forward to this one. If it did live up to your expectations, please drop me a thumbs up on this episode to help share it with others and help my videos get a little bit more widespread exposure. If this is the first video of mine you've seen, subscribe, stick around for plenty more of these Battlefield 3 weapon guides. Don't forget to check out the link to the playlist down in the description to check back for any episodes you might have missed. Let me know down in the comments if there's any particular weapons you're looking forward to seeing my little reviews on. So otherwise, thanks for watching and I'll catch you all later.